saw tonight here in the featherweight division for season 2, because it's when it comes down to it, when you win at the end of the year, you want to know that you went through the best of the best to get there. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see how the rest of the season starts to begin to play out. And there were some crazy knockouts. There were some guys that lost tonight. Like Seiler was a finalist last year and he lost a decision tonight. But I'm sure he'll be back. He's a guy that's super tough. And Harrison got a win tonight, which was great. So as a veteran of the PFL, guys like Harrison, Seiler, Almeida missed weight, so that hurts him in the points a little bit. But when it comes down to it, there's a lot of good guys that showed that they belong here tonight. So I had to try and prove myself a little bit, and I didn't get the finish like I wanted to, but I feel that I showed my dominance.
We know that you have a strong wrestling background, and you're transferred to the new gym, boxing, with Mark Henry, great striking coach. When you landed that 3-piece in soda competition, what was going to be your take when you saw the shot?
I was super excited because he always tells me, throw more than 2 punches. The first 2 punches aren't always going to land. You got to throw the combos because it's the 3rd, 4th, or 5th punch that's going to land when they're not ready. And after I missed the first 2 punches, as he took his head back and I landed the overhand, it was just like, this is what we've been working. We've only been working together about 7.5 weeks too. So it's like, this is what we work in his basement. And he's like, the whole time throughout this camp, he's like, just like on the pads, just like on the pads. And just let my hands go. I know I have power, so it's not like I need to throw hard punches. It's just getting more comfortable with throwing those combos, keeping my stance where it needs to be. And when I landed that, he recovered really well with it. But when he landed it, I was like, this is exactly what I wanted out of making that transition to start working with Mark Henry. And so you're just going to keep seeing more and more of that, and hopefully some finishes on the feet as well. But obviously my bread and butter is on the ground, and he did a good job of defending the back when I had the back, and he had good hand control in there, and so I wasn't able to get the rear naked choke in that round. But he's a tough opponent though. But yeah, I was very happy with being able to drop him with that combo.
And in the fight, as he was pursuing pressure, were you expecting that he was pressing forward, or see that he was fighting towards you and pushing him off back?
Yeah, I feel like in a lot of my fights, like last year, the very first fight of the season when I fought Magomedov, he started coming towards me, and he actually shot on me when I got the takedown to set up the finish against him last year. And then Juma, in the second fight of last year that was actually here in July, he shot on me and I got the takedown and the finish. So I was kind of trying to see, since Gilpin is more of a wrestling base, if he was going to throw that overhand and set up his shot and try and use it to get to the legs so I could get a scramble to get on the top. But once I saw that the combos were going to be open and that inside leg kick was going to be open, and just his pressure was not really helping him, in my opinion. But maybe that was his game plan, and he didn't really have any other option.
I heard you mention the change in training camps. I was speaking to Ali, and he said that you made the move to Mark Henry recently. What brought that about?
It was something that I wanted to do last year. So I originally moved in 2017 from Team Alpha Male back to Columbus, Ohio. My wife and I are both from Ohio, so we wanted to plant our roots in Columbus. And I had talked to Ali about moving out to Jersey in 2017. And once I found out that Timur Valiev was going to be in our season last year, it wasn't going to work because we were both same weight at the time, because they didn't do a bantamweight division or anything like that. So I went out, and it was actually a blessing in disguise though, because I got to meet the guys that coached me all last year out of Vegas at 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, Coach Casey. And Coach Casey's still with me now, and we're going to ride this thing till the wheels fall off. But everybody that I've met in Vegas, Joseph Benavidez is one of my best friends, and I kind of got sparked because I stayed with him for a week or two out there, and then I just kind of rolled through and did my first camp out there last year, and second, third, and we just rolled through the whole season. And But the main reason that I moved to New Jersey was to be closer to home. And Jersey to Ohio is a lot closer than Vegas to Ohio, whether you're flying or driving. So that was the main thing. And I have a good relationship with Frankie and obviously Marlon. We fought on a lot of the same cards when it was World Series of Fighting. So I already had a little relationship with Mark and Ricardo, but it was just something that I feel like we blend really well together. I think Frankie's one of the best striker, grappler combos of mixing up his wrestling and his punching. So that's something that I've always admired about Frankie, and Mark's, he's a product of Mark, so that's kind of why.
Coming into this season, obviously after having won the title last year, is the mentality more that you're the champ and you have to fight this tournament to defend, or is that you're just restarting and you have to re-crown yourself as champ?
Just restarting, going one fight at a time. I consider myself the best because I believe in myself, but I don't consider myself that I have anything to defend or guard or anything like that. I have to go and take this title. And if you when you start defending, when you see people that are defending belts, you kind of see them fight that way a little bit. And I feel like if you go after it and you're attacking something and you're working your way up the mountain, it's a lot easier to be offensive and kind of go take it instead of feel like everybody's coming at you to get it from you. So nobody has the title right now. And so I look at it as we're all going to get that title and everybody's got to get through one another to get there.
During the fight, did you happen to look outside the cage and see your old Ohio State wrestling alumni, AJ Agazam, going nuts?
Yeah, I did. My coach was actually like telling him to be quiet because I could barely hear my coaches over the crowd yelling for some of the stuff. And I've known AJ for years and years, and he's one of my good buddies. And he said he was coming, and I didn't know. I left him a ticket and everything, and I didn't know if he was actually going to make it or not. But it was good to have him here, and it was good to have a familiar face here also. But he was like yelling over my corner for a little bit, and they were just like, "Shut the hell up already! He can't hear you."
Lance, you mentioned working with Frankie and these last 8 years. You obviously seen Frankie fighting, history and stuff, but being with him these 8 years or so, what is there anything you learned about it that sort of surprised you? Or
Nothing really surprised me about Frankie because I had admired him and looked up to him so much as a fighter. And I kind of knew him as a person, not personally, but just in passing. We had the same manager, Ali, and I saw him at fights. And I was in Vegas, last year when he fought Brian Ortega and stuff like that. So I kind of watched his fight week and watched him work with Mark. And I've always watched Frankie. He's like a guy that I try to mimic. I mean, he's so good at what he does, blending his punches to his shots, back to his punches. Like, he's a guy that I always try to fight like. So being able to train with him and being able to see the things that he can kind of teach me, and because he's a veteran. When I first started training, it was Uriah Faber who was kind of my mentor, and he got me into the sport and kind of built me into more of a complete fighter. And now I feel like Frankie, he's a similar mentor like that, where I look up to him a lot. He's a legend of the sport already, and he's still fighting, and he's going for another title fight. He's a guy who when he was the champ at 55 back in the day, I was like, damn, this guy's a legend. And he's like, when he was beating Gray Maynard, and Gray Maynard's an alumni of my high school, and I was like, man, like they had some wars and some great fights, and I was like Frankie, he's the guy. I love watching Frankie fight. So being able to train next to him and learn from him and kind of bounce ideas back and forth off of him and Marlon and even Eddie Alvarez. Eddie Alvarez has been around forever, and he's a guy. We boxing sparred 2 weeks ago, and he was coming in telling me working on certain stuff with me and helping me out during the rounds, and they're awesome. They took me in, like family, and we really didn't know each other that well. And in that 7.5 week period, it turned into a real relationship where I feel like they respect me and what I bring to the table, and I definitely respect those guys and what they can do for me.
When you got taken to the ground, were you trying to go for a submission, or when you were on the ground the entire time, you just kept eating his rib cage every single shot? Was that a mindset, or you just said, screw it, I'm just going to try to take him out right here?
Yeah, I was really just trying to open him up to be able to get to the back or get to the half guard position. And he was just staying in that close guard, and he wasn't really blocking his body too much. So I was trying to go body head, body head. And I mean, the red mark on his liver was, the whole time was like, he wasn't blocking it. And I know it hurt because he kept twisting his body around and he was trying to twist to block it, but not get out of the position. So I don't know what he was trying to do there, but it was landing, so I wasn't really worried about moving from there unless something opened up.
Would you be open to doing something like how Askren and Jordan Burroughs did, that beat the streets? Would you be open to doing something like that as well?
Yeah, they asked me to do it next year. So I mean, as long as the season doesn't start or if PFL lets me do it, I'll definitely do it next year. Yoshi Nakamura is one of the main guys there that kind of puts everything together now, and he's a St. Edward alumni from my high school. I've known him for a long time, and of course Jesse Jansen's national champion from Harvard, and both of those guys are huge in Beat the Streets now. So for me, it's more about doing it as the charity event, and obviously I haven't competed in wrestling in 9 years, I think was when I graduated, but it's definitely something I'd love to do, and against somebody who's still wrestling, it's like a guy like Askren, it doesn't matter how good you are, he hasn't competed in wrestling in years, so there was no way he's going to beat Burroughs, but the amount of build up to that, and the amount of people, and the amount of money they raise for Beat the Streets, and the organization of Beat the Streets alone is something that is very important, you know, for inner city kids, and that's what I would do it for. I wouldn't do it just to do it, but since it's Beat the Streets and it's an event it's very prestigious, I think it'd be cool to do. So we talked about it when I was there with Frankie, and it was an awesome event, and they actually did it in the Garden at Hulu Theater, and it was they did a great job with it. So it's something that I'm excited to do for next year for sure.
Last question, guys. Have you been back to the new facility at Ohio State?
Not yet. I think it just opened like a week or two ago, but I'm definitely gonna go check it out when I get there. I always give the head coach crap because he's always hitting me up now, so so I gotta go there, and I can mess with him every time I see him. So I'm excited to go back and check it out, though. It's a huge facility. Logan Stieber, who was a world champ and he was a 4-time national champ from Ohio State, he just started a wrestling club for the youth out of the wrestling facility. So I'll probably be doing a seminar or two for them, and you know, kind of giving back a little bit because I don't have a lot of time to be home, especially with the season going on right now for us. But anytime I'm home, I try and go, you know, peek in there during the summer camps, and they have great summer camps, and there's a lot of kids there, and so go say hi to the kids and kind of show face a little bit.
Thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you, guys.